Today, we're going to step into a story, a kind of parable. It's called The Parable of the Blinkers, and honestly, it gets right to the very heart of how we choose to live, and maybe more importantly, what we choose to see or not see. Let's get into it.
Everything starts with this one simple, almost haunting line. Imagine a man who tells you he's finally found happiness, and his reaction? He just blinks. A little shuddering of the eyes. On the surface, it seems harmless, maybe even peaceful, but you have to ask, what is he blinking away?
And right there, that's the core question we're digging into. What if this comfortable, blinking happiness isn't freedom at all? What if it's actually a prison? A cage that isn't made of iron bars, but of our own comfort and our own complacency.
Okay, so let's really unpack this thing. The parable presents us with two completely different paths, two ways of being that split off from that single tiny action, the choice to blink or the choice to keep your eyes wide open.
Forget simple ideas of good and evil. That's not what this is about. The choice we're looking at today is, well, it's more elemental. It's the difference between the dim, cozy safety of a never-ending twilight and the bright, revealing, maybe even harsh glare of high noon.
So let's begin in that twilight. It's time to meet the first character in our story, the one who lives in this world of comfortable shadows, the last man. So who is this last man, really? He is the ultimate creature of comfort. He's the person who has quite literally blinked away the stars. I mean, think about that. He's traded the awe and the terror and the sheer scale of the universe for the safety of the herd, for the collective we. It's like choosing to endlessly scroll through things you already agree with instead of facing the challenge of creating something new. For him, greatness is just way too risky. Safety is everything. And this is basically his life's philosophy. His goals are intentionally tiny, just a small pleasure for the day and another for the night. He is actively afraid of the tension that you need for real growth. He pushes down his own darkness, his own shadow, so hard and for so long that eventually the light just goes out too. He forgets how to dream, and he just clings to the way things are like a parasite on a system that's already dying. And this quote just nails the problem. The last man avoids looking into the abyss, not just because it's scary, but because he's got nothing inside of him to face it with. There's no inner depth there to meet that huge outer emptiness. He's hollow. But that twilight isn't the only option. So let's switch gears and walk down that other path, the one that stands as a direct challenge to the last man. Welcome to the Great Noon.
The Overman's journey, well, it starts in the one place the last man refuses to even look. Inside, at the shadow, all those parts of ourselves that we find uncomfortable or dark. This person doesn't run from struggle, they lean into it, they see it as necessary. For the Overman, self-overcoming isn't just a self-help idea, it's the entire purpose of being alive.
This comparison really gets to the absolute heart of the difference between them. On one side, you have the retreat from pain. For the last man, happiness is just the absence of discomfort. That's it. But on the other side, you see a forge. For the Overman, struggle is the fire where the soul is literally hammered into shape and made stronger. It's not something to run from, it's something to use.
So here's the kicker. This journey doesn't start with pride. It doesn't start with thinking, I'm great. It starts with a great disdain, a deep, profound dissatisfaction with your own comfort, your own smallness, your own mediocrity. That feeling is the spark that lights the whole fire of transformation. All right. Let's go a layer deeper. We've seen the outer paths they walk, but what about their inner worlds? What does the actual architecture of their souls look like? This slide gives us such a powerful image. The last man's soul is a flat land. It's just smooth, featureless, a landscape of gray agreement. There are no mountains, no valleys, because he refuses to even admit that he has opposites inside him. The Overman's goal, the self, is completely different. It's a mandala, a complex, beautiful pattern where all the opposites are brought together into a unified, incredible whole. Now we get to this key idea, the anima, or the soul image. You can think of it as the source of our intuition, our creativity, our capacity for deep, meaningful connection. Well, to the last man, this entire part of himself is a complete stranger. He's ripped it out and replaced it with a simple calculation of utility. Basically, if it isn't useful or comfortable, it gets ignored. And look at how this plays out in his life. He trades the cup of passion, of eros, for a spreadsheet.
He thinks the soul is just some machine that needs to be oiled with a little entertainment to keep it running. And because of this, he just slides across the surface of life, right? He skates on the ice, never daring to dive into the deep, cold, life-giving water below. He literally has no passion that he'd be willing to truly sacrifice for.
And what about creating something new, or even just playing? The child archetype represents that sacred yes to life, our natural ability to play, to start over, to be a self-propelling wheel of new possibilities. The last man, he's lost this completely. When he's faced with the call to create, all he can manage is a tired, weary shrug. He's too exhausted by his own comfort.
This metaphor just captures his refusal perfectly. In the story, the camel has to go into the desert to be transformed. The last man is the camel who just says, nope. He refuses the journey, and in doing that, he ends up with an even heavier burden, the soul-crushing weight of sheer boredom.
So we've seen the two paths, we've seen the two souls, and all of this brings us, and every single one of us, to the final great choice.
So let's look at the end game for each. The last man becomes a fog, just an amorphous gray mist that wants to swallow up anything high, noble, or challenging. He is the perpetual twilight. The path of the overman, though, leads to becoming a mountain, solid, real, reaching for the sky, a landmark that demands effort. It is the great noon.
So here's one side of the coin, the first choice, to go under, to take that journey into the terrifying, magnificent depths of your own soul. Or the other choice, to blink, to just join the crowd in that comfortable collective darkness and accept the simple happiness they're offering. And that is exactly where the parable leaves us. It doesn't give an easy answer. It just lays out the two paths with total clarity, fog or mountain, twilight or noon. The choice is there for every single one of us. So the only question left is, which path will you take?